as I say. But there's another law at play as well, a rather more recent one. Section 90 of the Police Act 1990 makes it an offence to impersonate a police officer. Now, Priti Patel is Home Secretary. She is the minister in charge of policing, but she is not a police officer, not even an honorary one while she occupies that political role. A bit like people may talk, in America, for example, you have the president who is commander-in-chief, and so sort of has a position within the military structure. She doesn't have a role within the policing structure. She doesn't make operational decisions as such. She's not really supposed to interfere. She can, she's not really supposed to. And she certainly doesn't mastermind and take part in police operations. Why did she dress in the manner of a police officer? You know, if someone was walking past there, particularly someone not from Britain, but even someone who walked past that, they would just see what appeared to be part of the police operation. You know, the only distinguishing thing, if you're a bit eagle-eyed, if you looked carefully, apart from the gold slippers, would be Home Secretary emblazoned on her coat. Home Secretaries, including herself, have always met uniformed officers in their normal work dress in the past, and this is what will happen in the future. This is different. This has not been done before. Alan Green's article pointed at how Churchill, for example, was criticised a century ago for being photographed attending a major policing operation. But I mean, he was dressed in his usual garb, at least including a top hat. He wasn't trying to pretend to be one of the police. He was just nosing in, which was bad enough. The controversy was his attendance in a sensitive situation. He made no attempt to pretend to be the ranking officer on scene. And neither of the laws that have been mentioned in connection with Patel were in effect at the time anyway. So, you know, all people would have done, which is what they did do, was comment on the suitability of his presence, not whether any law had been broken. Then, as I was pondering the government's march onto the path of turning the UK into an authoritarian police state, I saw a picture of Boris Johnson attending a military hangar. Authoritarian police state, Phil, being a bit dramatic, aren't you? Am I? See, we think of conservatives, we think of like Thatcher's conservatives as being essentially liberal. Too liberal, there's no safety net there for the vulnerable in society. Let everyone do as they please and may the strongest come out on top. But that's not Boris Johnson's government. Boris Johnson's government are not a conservative government. I cannot emphasise just how strongly what I see here is it's the takeover of the Conservative Party. By the Brexit Party, by UKIP, by the BNP, doesn't matter, it's by fascists. They've already pursued the sort of populist agenda and control of the media that's only ever been pursued by authoritarians. As for police state, we are seeing increasing interference into the independence of the police. The police investigations into a number of potential naughtiness on the part of government ministers has been blocked over the past few years. Priti Patel is mocking herself up in a pretend uniform. Boris Johnson pictured here with something else designed to make him look like part of the uniformed military. Now, in this particular case, I think he's just trying to pretend to be like, you know, the President of the United States, who often dress in similar things. It's not what we do here. The role is very different. The role of Prime Minister is not that of President. You know, Patel's coat had Home Secretary written on it, clearly intended to mark her out as the senior officer there. Part of the police force, part of the operation and the one in charge. Same with Johnson here. What's next? Are we going to see Boris Johnson introduced at the 2023 Conservative Party conference as El Presidente? Viva El Presidente! Chest full of medals. Is that what we're going to see? How many times have we seen this government following the 1984 playbook? One of the important things from that book by George Orwell is the idea that where the real fascists of the time went wrong is that they wanted to achieve something. That was their weakness, he wrote. They had an ideology. To succeed, authoritarians needed to pursue power, not for some purpose, but purely for the sake of power. And this is what Boris Johnson does. He was firmly of the belief that leaving the EU would be bad for Britain. He pretended to change his mind, not because he had changed his mind, but because it was a route to personal power. He is the head of a government that has pursued power for the sake of power. And sure, just because Orwell wrote about authoritarianism doesn't mean he's right on every point, but look at how often Johnson has twisted and turned his aims just to maintain his grip on power. He U-turns at the drop of a hat. Absolutely at the drop of a hat. If something becomes politically too difficult, he just switches stream. And the reason is because he doesn't care. He's not going anywhere. He's not on a path to anywhere. Someone who wanted to achieve a certain aim, whether it be leaving the EU, privatising the NHS or whatever, would eventually be caught out because they'd find themselves on a path that's too difficult, but they want to get there, so they would persist and they would fall. When Johnson is caught out, he just changes direction. He does and says whatever is needed to make sure that he is still Prime Minister at the end of the day. And if the next day he has to change what that is, he will. He isn't working towards a goal. He doesn't have an achievement as Prime Minister in mind. The achievement was power. The goal is power. Not to do anything with, just to hoard. Like a billionaire who can afford whatever they might wish to buy, but is still driven to enrich themselves further, will still lobby governments to stop themselves having to pay any of it in taxes. You know, the photograph of Patel attending an arrest for a photo opportunity in dress that is supposed to mark her out as being the head of a police operation can either be worrying or a lot of fuss about nothing, depending on your point of view. But seen in the context of the way this government are changing what is normal behaviour for government ministers, should be deeply concerning to us all. But those are my thoughts. Let me know yours in the comments below. Hope you found the video interesting. If you did, don't forget to click the like button. And if you'd like to support the channel further, please also click the Patreon link for details. And until next time, I'll see you later.